Good evening, everyone. My proposal is investigating methods of teaching high school history. So, what are the students' thoughts on traditional versus using various forms of technology to learn history? So, Cutler says that few students actually learn by reading and standardized testing. I agree. It's boring. It doesn't have to be. Clients have mentioned both loving and hating history. One, because the teacher made it fun, and two, because the teacher made it boring and they find it lame. So Cole points out that the teacher who engages the kids have better results because the kids are actively participating in the group. So this is one of the references that I'm using by um, Robert Cole. Children know how to learn in more ways than we know how to teach them, and that is so true. That was Ronald Edmonds, 1991. And he goes on to um, go on, various, he explains it in great detail. And Cutler, as I'd mentioned, history doesn't have to be boring. So to be honest with you, though I love history and I always have, um, I've I don't remember anything from any of my history classes other than, of course, some of my quite a few of my history classes that I've taken in college. I do remember those because they were hands-on, they were active. Um, I do remember a field trip that we took in the fourth grade over 30 years ago. God, that seems a long time. Anyway, point being is that I remember the Wobblies, the Centralia Massacre, that it took place November 11th, 1919, I think, if that's correct. I remember 6 people died very horribly. There was at least one guy. I remember, I think there was one guy that hung from one of the bridges that is still quite heavily, it's got a lot of traffic going through it. But point is being that I remember that. Don't remember anything that I read in classes. And I'd be so hard pressed to remember any of the tests that I took. Point being, active um, active participation, you retain long term. Short, like reading and testing, you don't remember anything beyond that first year, maybe even the weeks. So, what makes it boring? What about historical sites? Are they different? I believe I answered those two questions, but I can go into more detail and gather information on those to address that more fully. So, how is hands-on learning better? Again, I'll do more research and implement that because you can retain it and you actually learn something that can be useful in the future. So with the information that I have gathered and am gathering will be useful in helping not necessarily my kids, but also helping other educators realize that they need to do something to maximize the learning potential in the classroom from their students. Kids are already going to be interested in it. The teachers convincing them to jump on board because it's not required. A lot of them don't do that. They don't care. And I know that's harsh. And for some, it's true. For others, they do care. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So, because of my informal interviews and the ability to use the data that I have collected from former clients in my target age group, I don't need formal consent, but I will ask them informal consent. And it's just the respectful thing to do. But because I'm not using their names, it's not necessarily needed. Um, so my research will be shared to encourage open-mindedness in using outside the box thinking in the classroom. And I look forward to hearing everybody's responses, and have a great night.